what's happening in Maine now should be a wake-up call to Oklahoma to stop all permits for sludge. These farmers in Maine that were told by their DEQ, their Department of Environmental Quality, that this was safe and it's fine and it's green and environmental. Now those farmers are being shut down. They're being told by their government, the same government that told them it was safe, they're being told it's not safe. We're sorry, our hearts are broken for you, but your land is contaminated forever.
I don't want to live in a toxic dump. That's a real huge concern. I don't want my grandchildren having to deal with this.
They know it's COVID related. It's been tested to have COVID in it. Nobody seems to care. I mean, the wastewater, what do they do with it when it's all said and done? Dump it in a live stream and it goes down to the lake. And then we drink it. We get sick on COVID.
It's in the air. We are breathing it. It gets on our skin and into our skin. What's it doing to our bodies? How long does it last? Who can answer these questions for us?
Well, how much of our land is going to be contaminated? Michigan, same thing is happening, and they're telling these big beef farmers that they were assured that this sludge was safe. They're now telling these beef farmers, sorry, you can't sell your beef, and it's all recalled. Well, the farmers are really upset, and they should be, because they were told it was safe. I mean, Germany, they're capturing this and turning it into biodiesel. I mean, Switzerland banned it years ago. Lots of places in Europe, they actually separate out their human waste from their factory waste, so it doesn't go to the same plant, get mixed up, and then tossed on their farms.
Whatever was in the human sludge is in that meat that the people are eating. So it's not just your water supply, but it's your meat and your corn and your wheat. So it all does circle around and becomes a part of the ecosystem.
It could be human waste, but that also means industrial waste. It also means the waste out of somebody's front yard who's changing their oil and doesn't want to, put their, it could be anything.
Why this came about and why we saw so much of this in the last 3 to 4 years of these farms coming online, because Synagro was actively coming out and contracting with these farmers.
It's not something that's going to be fixed this second, but if we take steps to hopefully control it, maybe we can keep our environment alive and thriving a little bit longer.
How bad do you think this is going to get?
We're pretty terrified. I mean, until people start to rise up and demand change and say, no, we really don't want to use our tax dollars to put in a new trail system. We would rather protect the health of our people with that money and actually change our wastewater system.
So you've heard this, according to the EPA. Also, we had to mention COVID in that video too, so aren't we all just sick of that? But I have not verified that. I have also not verified where the guy was talking about the EPA requires for that to be tilled into the ground. What did he say, 4 inches? I have not verified that either. So if you guys want to dig into that a little bit, you definitely need to. Okay. So according to the EPA, we've talked about what biosolids are. We know that there's classes of biosolids, Class A, Class B. John Newberry kind of gave a good description of Class A and Class B differences. For me, for a lay person in all of this, what it means is that Class A, real easy. Class A is really treated good, and Class B is not treated good. Okay? So dig into it. There's some information there. I would like to mention the last sentence there where it says Class B biosolids. This is why they have those site restrictions, is to allow time for the pathogen degradation, for harvesting crops, turf, for grazing of animals, and for public contact. Now, John did a wonderful job telling you about on certain things. It's not good for the public to be touching. There are, I think I put this in here, times where you're not supposed to do this. We'll get to that in just a minute, to touch or put your animals out on that area, okay? So he also mentioned that biosolids are tested for these things. Most of those are heavy metals. The PCB testing and the TCLP, those are only tested, what I found, every 5 years. Is that correct? Okay. So that's only every 5 years. I did not find any testing for PFAS or pharmaceutical drug toxins. That's what I was concerned about, is that we know that there are some pharmaceuticals that are released into our waste. It may not be to the level that's unsafe, I don't know, but I want to know, how are those being tested, and are they even being tested? Some of the pathogens or organisms that are in biosolids, these are included but not limited to, okay? E. coli, we've heard of E. coli, Salmonella, Shigella, Campylobacter, Cryptosporidium, Giardia, Norwalk virus, and enteroviruses. I see kids coming in all the time with these viruses. Some little kids can get really, really sick with enterovirus, okay, or the norovirus, to the point to where they're hospitalized. We hope that it doesn't go that far. But those are some of the things I know y'all probably have heard about, getting food poisoning with E. coli and all that stuff. It's not fun to have to deal with those. I did not find information. My thing was, because we, in the medical field, we talk about hepatitis all the time. Hepatitis B, hepatitis A, hepatitis C. So I did not find anything where hepatitis B, hepatitis C, hepatitis A comes from fecal material anyway, but I did not find anything where that was being tested, okay? But whenever it says they include these pathogens but are not limited to, I'm not trusting anything, okay? I'm just saying. All right. Here's our classes again. I did find an article on Virginia Biosolids by a few ladies. They went down through there. If you want to check that website out or that article, that is fabulous, talking about the health issues that can come up. Listeria. How many of you have heard of listeria before? Yes, absolutely. This can be acquired by eating, it's foodborne pathogen, by eating the animals. Yes, ma'am.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Right now?
Yes.
I'll forget it.
Okay.
Janice Bowling, Moorhead, one of the finest meat producers that we have.
Yes.
is having to dispose of 700 million pounds
Yes.
of meat because of listeria contamination.
Mm-hmm.
Does it have anything?
I just saw that too, Senator Bowling. Thank you for adding that.
I
Boar's
just
Head.
threw away a bunch of liverwurst over that.
Yes. Boar's
Thank you,
Head
Senator.
had a recall because of this. So we got to be smart if we're going to be putting these biosolids out here, people. Okay? You can't not follow the rules. You got to keep your cows away from this stuff, because if we've got listeria in it, it's going to be in your cows. Okay? And if you're going to send them to market, it's going to be on our plates. Okay? So, this was a photograph. I know that most of y'all have probably seen this, of some cows. I don't know who took it, but this was this year. This was some cows that were actually eating the sludge, or eating that biosolid. And personally, I don't want to eat them. I don't want to I hope they're not gonna go to market, that's all I'm saying, but, do not get me wrong. I want to see these cows, I want these farmers to have very, very successful, businesses, their farms, but I don't want it to be like this, okay? All right. Site restrictions, these are just a little bit more. It says 100 feet or more from the surface of the water, state and sea, which are positioned down gradient of the application site. We know that in Dark Hollow, we know there's land that's coming down from that land up in, what is it, Van Buren County, Rocky River, all those things that are coming down to us, okay? Yes. 100 feet from all wells, water, supply reservoirs, and active sinkholes. Have y'all ever been to Dark Hollow? Huh? There's sinkholes everywhere. Everywhere. We have Cumberland Caverns. That should be a clue. There's sinkholes, people. Okay? All right. Site restrictions. Here we go. Here's Class B. It's talking about any food crops or harvested parts. Y'all turn that page to this really quick because I don't want to run over all of these, but I did highlight some of them. Any food crops with harvested parts above the land surface should not be harvested for 14 months after the biosolids. Food crops below the surface, I'm assuming, what, potatoes, stuff like that, should not be harvested for 20 months. Food crops harvested with parts below the surface of the land shall not be harvested for 38 months after the application of biosolids. Why? Why a whole year, 2 years, and 3 years? To me, that makes me think not safe. Does that, y'all too? Y'all get the same kind of clue? Okay. Animals should not be grazed on the land for 30 days after the application. Y'all can just look through those. Please, please, please go and research this for yourself. This was my, excuse me.
I'm Bob Hope, I live on the Rocky River. If you'll go back that slide where it says 14 months.
Yes.
There was probably 40, 50 acres of soybeans planted up there right after the biosolid. But he's obviously he is going to harvest that, and he's not going to hit that 14 months. He's going to be way under that.
Thank you for mentioning that, because my next slide is about the violations. So, what happens?
But what's the violation? I mean,
That's right. That's what we want to know. So, permits and violations, they must comply with specific limitations and self-monitoring requirements for land application relative to pathogen reduction, vector attraction. Y'all, I didn't know what vector attraction was. Do y'all know what vector attraction is? You don't either? It's flies. Flies and what else? Like mosquitoes. What's birds? Because birds can go down there. Is that considered? Okay, all right. Ergonomic rates, site restrictions, monitoring, all that stuff. But in all of this, y'all, and researching and digging and calling, I'm like, but there's people that are violating this. Some of these farmers are violating this. I don't know if they know that they're doing it or not, because I spent weeks trying to read this 503 thing, and I know some farmers ain't going and digging into that. I don't know if the farmers know this or not, but they're violating. There should have not been cows eating that stuff. There should not be soybeans and being harvested. But it is. So who regulates this? Who does the violations? What's happened to them when these people do violate? Were all my questions. And I never kind of got a real good answer. It's just like, oh yeah, I did get some information that the violators were sent a letter. They were to have a meeting or hearing with them. But what's a letter and a meeting do for our food and for our land? Nothing. Yes, ma'am.
My name's Liz, and I just have a small farm. We do eggs and a dairy goats. But I'll just say this: I have gone through the proper channels to sell things under a pet license and things like that, and I've done it for years. And I just pay my fee every year, and I get the license to do that. I know they can come and inspect me, and they are welcome, but they don't, because they don't have the resources to send people out to all these places. And so when it comes to this, how they're supposed to be doing it, and how absolutely, like, I mean, there's a reason why things aren't supposed to be done for so many months, but they don't, I just don't know if they have the resources to keep people in check.
Yes.
And the other thing is you can't control the weather in Tennessee. I get my neighbor's water, run off on my lands constantly. It washes out our road and everything. There's a lot of issues. I know that's why you're up there, but if there is so much restriction to it, but they don't have the resources to enforce that.
That's my same thing. I agree with you wholeheartedly. That is my same thing. I think we had a community meeting. Mr. Walker, Jimmy Walker, is he here tonight?
Yep.
Jimmy Walker. Jimmy Walker, and our thing from day one has been educate, educate, educate. We need to educate our farmers. We need to educate the people. He mentioned about trying to, when we do have farmers wanting to do this, Jimmy, I still do not know the name of what you were talking about the other night.
Tennessee Ag Enhancement Program that you have to go through for beef quality assurance every 3 years to get qualified. And this could be brought up in that. We've had people talking about the impossible meat, we've had everything like that. But this should be included in that.
Yes. Tennessee Agmen, is that what you said?
Tennessee Ag Enhancement Program.
I'm sorry, you're behind the podium, the post, and I can't read your lips.
It's called TAPE. Farmers know what it is.
Farmers know what it is. But that is where we need to say, hey, if you're going to take these biosolids, you ought to know this stuff, okay? These are the rules. So that's one spot, okay? My thing is when they violate those rules knowingly, I want something to stop it. Do y'all? Are y'all not all kind of the same? I want it stopped. Yes. If you are knowingly violating, I want somebody to go out there to that farmer and say, you're done. Your crops cannot go to market. Your meat cannot go to market. I want it stopped if you are knowingly violating. Okay? All right. Now we're heading into Chattanooga Moccasin Bend Biosolids. This is from TDEC. Again, they're data viewers. You can see public knowledge. They were out, their inspection were out of compliance in 2019, 2022, 2023. Okay? And you can click on each one of those on that site and it'll tell you what each one of the violations were and out of compliance. Okay? I ran across this article from Chattanooga. I think it's their Southern Standard. But they are actually, the city's actually wanting a major overhaul of Moccasin Bend sewage treatment plant. In that article, I want you guys to read that as well. It says that that plant is outdated and it's not up to par, okay? So to me, that brings more trust issues with Class B biosolids being truly treated the way that they're supposed to be. Chattanooga, that sewage plant is taking in and doing things from over 200. I read one place it was 500 square mile, and they also have 80 industries, which may be more now, I don't know, but this is pretty recent, March 23rd of 24, this article. 80 industries, and when I say industries, I'm talking about factories or doing something. There's a paper back there on the back table when you came in that shows the map of all of those, and all of those little dots on there are suspected industries to be releasing these PFASs, okay? So, they need help. They need some money to get their stuff together, okay, to get it fixed. Yes, please.
Stuff.
They need some funding. So, like ASAP, for them to check their stuff, do it appropriately. I mean, McMinnville has a good little system. I don't know what's going on, but we don't seem to have Class B. Is that correct? Does anybody know that? I think we have Class A.
We're Class A.
We're Class A. So if we can get little bitty old Podunk McMinnville can get Class A, then Chattanooga ought to, right?
But
Okay.
Class A doesn't mean that there's
Class
no
A is
PFAS.
not. Class A doesn't mean that the PFASs are gone, because PFASs, in just a minute, we're going to learn, are forever chemicals. They're forever there, okay? Why, then, should we take Chattanooga stuff? I don't know. I really don't. I wish somebody would tell me why Chattanooga has to spread out and do all of this. But,
Because people in Hamilton County don't want it?
okay. But all of us little counties up here, I think we all need to come together and say, no, we're not taking your Class B.
I think one of the problems is that over time, there's a buildup in that soil, and they have to test it. And a lot of them that got it around close can't have it dumped on there this year, so they're moving out. They're having to go farther.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they didn't go top of Bacon Mountain a few years ago. Now, right off they come.
That is right. I mean,
They
so
can't
you
do it
can't
over-
put too much nutrient on any property. Like, that would cause problems too. We'd have nutrients flowing off into the streams and algae balloons and whatnot that would be causing problems. So, I mean, that is a problem.
In TDEC's little rule, 503 rule here, it says that these are the causes for terminating a permit. I don't know. I'd like to see how many of those permits have been terminated after the violations. Please go and dig into that. Do y'all know offhand? Know how many permits have been terminated?
In all honesty, I can't think of
Okay.
when a permit has been terminated because of a notice of violation.
Okay.
Somebody, may terminate their own permit, but I don't remember us ever terminating the permit
Oh.
because of notice of violation.
They can terminate it, but y'all don't.
They may decide to start sending it to a landfill, so they.
Okay. And when we're talking about a permit, John, are we talking about Chattanooga having the permit or the farmer having the permit? The landowner, I'm sorry.
Sure, yeah, that is kind of confusing how
Yes.
that's set up, but, so the city of Chattanooga has the permit.
Gotcha.
And so those farmers basically sign an agreement with Chattanooga that they want the biosolids. And Chattanooga has also a contractor that was Centigro, I think it still is, that kind of manage all that sites, all those sites for Chattanooga. And so
Okay.
they have a contract that they have
Okay, so I just want to repeat, make sure I heard it correctly. The city of Chattanooga has the permit to land apply. Synagro doesn't have to have a permit. They're just contracted with the city. Correct? Okay.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
They work for the city of Chattanooga.
And the farmer has no permit at all.
They don't, so if we send a notice of violation letter for the cattle grazing on site, we would send that letter to the city of Chattanooga.
Gotcha. Yes, sir.
In the Van Buren County meeting, this is what Bob Odette specifically talked about and said that the county needed to target, that every farmer needs to be individually permitted instead of having this statewide blanket permit. And that's the real problem, is there's no accountability, because who's checking the government? Who's the actual violator is the city of Chattanooga.
I think that's a problem, John. I think that's a problem, John. I really do. I've just now figured that out just by what you've told me, and I think that's a real problem. I think that the landowner should have to have a permit. You know, when we went out and bought this land, me and my husband, we had to have a septic tank permit. And the land had to perk. The land had to perk. Or it was going to be useless to us. We wasted our money. Because you can't build a house there if the land doesn't perk. But we were issued the permit. I believe that the farmer needs to be issued a permit, and his land should be just as importantly perked or tested or whatever as mine was.
Part of the problem is these farmers are renting this product.
I've heard that too. I've heard that these big farmers are maybe from out of state, and they're getting these huge farms and they're leasing the land. So in that aspect, I think that the landowner and the leasee should have to apply for the permit. The city of Chattanooga does not want to do anything to protect my address on Dark Hollow Road and my neighbors.